big picture sort of question.
Yep.
Just on 3rd and long, obviously you have a decision every time whether you're going to, rush and blitz or you're going to send maybe 3 and play coverage. Just like what goes into that decision and sort of what are the pros and cons of each approach?
Well, I think, like always, it usually starts with the people. That's how I look at it. So, like, how many people do we have to cover? So if the number gets great, we gotta be mindful of that. And then personally, for me, after the people, how many people got to cover and before I even get to our guys is the experience of the quarterback. Like to me in those 3rd and longer situations, just in my short 2 years spent of being a coordinator. When you play some zones, sometimes I get worried. Sometimes based on the experience of the quarterback. Sometimes I like to be on them more based on the experience of the quarterback if they're younger. Like that's just a general. Like when you ask a big picture, I'm not saying specifically for this week, but like if you ask me while I'm at the pool on in June, that's what I'm thinking. And then from there, it's just in terms of the rush, like so, and the part of the game we're at. So if it's the end of the game, you need to play. You might want to force the ball out quick, so you bring a certain rush to get the ball out quick. If it's early in the game and just a little bit more conservative by nature, then you might 3-man rush it, try to manipulate it so you can get some pressure off of it. But those are some of the things that go into mind right there. But like for me, it starts with who we're covering, who's the quarterback, and then from there the situation and where it's at in the game.
Thanks, Pat.
No problem.
Of course.
Hey, Pat.
Good morning.
Good morning. Can you talk about the challenges and maybe the difficulty of manufacturing a pass rush? Some guys have one guy who's going to get 10, 15 sacks, maybe 2 guys. You guys are on pace for 40 sacks, but no one is on pace for double digits. You don't have Carter. You don't have X-Man. How do you, the challenge of a guy who's got to move these chess pieces around?
I think it's less chess pieces moving around. And it's more these guys just figuring out ways to get the quarterback. Our guys, they work pretty hard at it. In terms of the coaches that deal with it the most, Brett and Spence, they deal with a lot with the pass rush, and I would say Kevin's involved with that as well. And then, by nature, just because I'm an old D-line coach, I get involved in the pass rush a little bit. But I think the fun part about it is, we have to be coordinated. And I think the more you look at how this league is changing, and it starts probably in Pop Warner and how it is in college, all these quarterbacks can move. When I first got in the league, it was certain quarterbacks you had to worry about them getting out of the pocket. Everybody's live in the red area. Everybody else scramble in the red area. We all got that. There's points at stake, all that stuff. But out in the field, when I first got in the league, we didn't have to deal with that many quarterbacks that could move, and you were worried about it. Like, so you could play 2-man and not worry about it because so-and-so wasn't going to scramble. So you didn't have to worry about spying them. But the more quarterbacks that can move, like you just go up and down the list of quarterbacks we played. Really, you say Tom, but Tom moves in the pocket pretty decent. I'm not saying he's going to scramble for 20 yards, but we've dealt with every week as a quarterback that can move. So that's probably the challenge. So even if you got that guy that can get 12 to 15, okay, that's cool. But the other elements of the rush, you got to piece it together to make sure you're caging the quarterback up. And I think, that's what we got to keep continuing to do a better job of, not letting them extend plays. But I think it's fun. I think it's fun anytime we get a chance to, and I don't know if it's based on our players, but just the challenge of rushing an offense. The O-line coaches in the league, there's only 32 of them, and they're really, really good because, usually you look at most staffs, the O-line coach is the best coach on the staff, in terms of detail, knowing. I tell the guys all the time, if you want to know anything about yourself, I say, you need to go ask the line coach. I'm sure he has a list up on those guys all the time. So I say, if you want to know what you're doing, ask the line coach. So that's probably the biggest challenge right there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Pat Leonard.
Hey, Pat, how are you guys incorporating new players every week so seamlessly? It seems like every week you either have new players to the roster that are suddenly playing, let's say, 30 or 40 snaps, or rookies that you're acclimating who haven't played yet and suddenly are making big plays for you. I would imagine there's a lot of detail and a lot of maybe preparation even weeks ahead for some of these guys for these roles. Just how much detail is there put into that, and why are you guys looking like a defense that maybe has been together even though you keep adding new pieces, if that makes sense?
Well, let's start. The first is the hard work the guys put in. So whether it's their rookie or their first day here, they have to put in the work to see the results. So, like, yeah, we want to push people to get out on the field, but if they don't show us that they can handle it, it's not going to work out. So they do that. Secondly, I would say it's the coaches. I mean, not just the position coaches either, like Brett, Spence, Kevin, Jerome. It's also the guys behind the scenes, like Mike, and Blev, Jody. Those guys, when we're game planning, you got new guys, they spend the time, whether it's Zoom or what have you, to get these guys right, to help them get prepared. That plays a huge role in what we do, and it's a huge role in terms of their development, in terms of being young NFL coaches, and so we could push that down the line. So, like, to me, I remember when I was put in that position, I was proud when I'm like, you know what, I got that, I helped get that guy ready. It was a big deal, So he gets his 1 or 2 plays there in the game, and he gets it right, and I'm sitting there, and you get a pat on the back, like, you got him ready. That's a big part of it. So is there detail? I mean, I hope, yeah. I mean, we got to be detailed about everything. And then really it comes down to development of players. This football's a physical game. You're going to lose guys throughout the season. You have to be constantly thinking about developing the players, the roster. And Joe does a great job of laying that foundation. Again, that's how we learned. Those guys that you think aren't playing in September, they're going to be playing in November. That's just how it happens. It doesn't, like, something's going to happen. They have to play. So you have to look ahead in terms of the development of your roster, or you're going to get caught short. And if you get caught short, nobody cares. I mean, like, Washington doesn't care if so-and-so's hurt. They don't care. I mean, they're going to go out there and try to kick our butt. I mean, they don't care. So you have to develop the roster and hope those guys are prepared and put the work in to do so.
Tom Kevin.
Hey, Pat, how you doing?
Good morning.
Quick question. James Bradberry seemed to travel a lot last week.
Mm-hmm.
What goes into a decision? Is it the other receiver who you want to take out of the game, or is it part of the game plan? Because McLaurin this week is a pretty good guy, too.
Yeah, pretty good, yeah, to say the least, yeah. I think it's part of his strategy. I'll give you that. Like, I mean, I don't want you to think like, oh, it's just part of his strategy. You can start the game one way and then say, okay, we're going to switch it in the second quarter. Okay, we're going to start the game one way, we're going to switch it in the second half. So that's part of the whole chess piece moves or whatever, like we were talking about earlier. Then it's definitely based on the people, like in terms of the skill set. How do we see the matchup? But do you take into account the other people playing defensive back? Absolutely, absolutely. Does so-and-so match up better with him, so let's move these pieces around? Just by nature, JB, he's been in the league longer. He's more of he can match up with numerous guys. So he's a good chess piece to have. I keep using that phrase. But he's a good piece to be able to move around because we can match him up different places to help make it easier or help play to our advantage with some of the other positions. I think that answers your question.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right.
Hey, Pat, good morning.
Good morning.
You mentioned the acclimation for guys coming into the defense. I'm just curious from the rookie perspective. You mentioned that you guys are always looking ahead.
Mm-hmm.
You take us inside that process a little bit. How far in advance are you with some of these guys? And is it a delicate balance to not rush guys per se based on need? When Zoe went down, you could have pushed, and X-Man, you could have pushed more snaps on the rookie in with you, but it seemed like you kind of stuck to the plan rather than putting those guys maybe in positions that they would not succeed.
I think, just like I've always said, everything's a reflection of the head coach's vision. So, I've been lucky in my career, every place I've been, I've, been able to hear what the coach's vision is, and I understood it. So, like, just being, close with Joe as a coach and as a friend, like, I see his vision for the team in terms of just how we have to develop these young guys. So when we draft the guys that we had on defense, like, we knew that whatever the process was going to be, we had to keep pushing it, just keep pushing it to get them better, and improve daily, and then put a little bit more on their plate. And then the coaches understand that, so that comes from being like-minded and understanding that part of it. Now, how far ahead do you look? I mean, Joe talks about breaking up the season in quarters. He talked about that. We all know about, like, Thanksgiving, that's when football starts. To me, you're trying to always build towards that. Like, when you hit November, you're playing your best football. And you're playing your best football with who's available because something's going to happen. So, I mean, because I've been in the league a few years, like as soon as the season's ended and we drafted guys, I'm starting to think about that. To be honest with you, not like the minute details of it, but like you have to think about it. You draft a young guy, where's he at? We had Zoe, we had X, we had Fact. Okay, where are these young edge guys going to play into it? Are they going to start right from jump? No. So then you got to say, okay, how are we going to develop them? What's the best way to do it? And so that's how you go about it, and then you see how to use them as weapons. So if we need them against Washington, let's use them against Washington. If that plays into the game plan, but you gotta look ahead. But that's how I was taught to do it. So.
Thanks, Pat.
Yep.
We'll take two more, Jordan and Matt. Jordan.
Hey, Pat.
What's up?
You guys have told us from the start that this is going to be a very multiple defense.
Mm-hmm.
It looked on Monday night like you kind of threw everything you had at Tom Brady there.
Mm-hmm.
How much of that would you have been able to do earlier in the season? Obviously, there was the limitations this summer and in the spring in general. And how much more can you add going forward?
Well, the beauty of how we've installed and how Joe laid it out, that he wanted us to, to talk to the guys. We spent a lot of time in the spring, and again, learned this from Flo, learned this from Brian Flores, learned this from Matt Patricia, learned it from Bill, that install the core concepts. So install cover 3. Don't worry about whatever the call is for cover 3. Install the version of cover 3. What's a curl flat? What's a hook curl? If they can understand that, and the whole group can understand it, then you could have 10 calls that are still cover 3, but people are in different spots. So we took our time to do that. And that's why I've learned over my career, that's the best way to do it, to be able to be more multiple as you push down the year. So whether it's cover 2 or whatever it may be, like just making sure they understand what the core concepts are. So I can say, okay, now Jordan, here, you go play this spot and cover. You're like, well, I was playing it, but let's play this spot. It's the same thing. You were in the same meeting, right? Okay, same meeting, same technique. Go do that. So obviously it grows as time goes on. It goes on, but again, I'm just telling you, we're not doing that much stuff. I know everybody thinks we're not doing that much stuff. We just try to do what we can execute, and the guys are trying to do it at a high level. We got ways to go in terms of improvement. I obviously got to do a better job coaching and a better job of getting to understand all the fine details of it, and also calling the game. But it comes from the hard work they put in the spring and the Zoom meetings. To be honest with you, you could talk to all. I mean, I would assume like even Dalvin could tell you what the job of the curl flat is. So.
Last one here, Lombardo.
Hey, Pat, how's it going, man?
What's up?
Hey, it seems like the league is trending a lot more towards just generating front four pressure. The Buccaneers seem to do it. You guys have done a really nice job. Can you just talk about, what Leonard Williams and Dalvin Tomlinson have been able to do and how they've kind of grown as pass rushers this year?
Well, I think they all had the talent, and I mean, obviously, it's nothing that new that I've done. It's just because you've seen it on tape. That's why we're willing to put them in those spots. I mean, the thing I've seen in terms of development, I mean, the biggest thing for Leo was just like, let's hit it quick, man. Let's go. Like they can't. I mean, let's hit the move quick and let's go. Get to the quarterback. Like stop. Just do that. Dalvin. I mean, he's playing with good pad level. He's always been powerful. He's always been explosive. He always has good hands in terms of his handwork, but just the biggest thing for me is pad level. Like when it comes back to the rush, fortunately, again, football's simple, and I'm a simple dude. Like it comes back to pad level because the pad level leads to the violence, whether it's the run game or the pass game. So you ask those guys, I mean, like, again, they might think I'm a jerk, okay, but all I talk to them, I don't talk to them about any moves. I don't care. I just say you have to be lower than them. And that's all I say to them, period. So